Greetings! David Neilsen here for Third Universe with a board game demo! Today, we're going to explore the world of the Settlers of Catan by Klaus Tuber, produced by Mayfair Games. This is the granddaddy of all resource-gathering games, first introduced in 1995. It is a vicious, cutthroat game for 3 to 4 players who are creating vast empires by building roads and settlements around a hexagonal game board while collecting various resource cards. Let's take a look, shall we? But first, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification button. The Settlers of Catan consists of cards, hexagonal land tiles, number tokens, water border tiles, dice, reference tiles, harbor tokens, wooden player pieces in 4 colors, a wooden robber meeple, a handy-dandy rule book, and sometimes it comes with a bumper sticker. The object of the game is to be the first to score 10 victory points. Now, you score victory points in a variety of ways, but mainly by building settlements and cities. You can also earn victory points by having the longest road or the largest army, or you can collect victory point cards. We'll go over all of that in a bit, but first, let's go over the setup. Begin with these 19 hexagonal tiles. You got to lay them out into a large hexagon shape to create the world of Catan. After you've played the game a few times, you can set them up in a number of different ways. But if you're starting out, you should follow the diagram included in the instruction booklet. Then surround them with the water border tiles. Congratulations! You've made Catan! Next, place all the number tokens on the individual land tiles. Again, your best bet is to follow the pattern shown in the book. Now it's time to choose your color. Grab a bag and give yourself 5 settlements, these little house-like pieces, 4 cities, these larger house pieces with the obviously modern extension, and 15 roads, these sticks. Don't just pour them all out, however. You have to count out exactly each piece, otherwise they come and take the game away from you. I'm kidding. Maybe. Now the cards. There are 6 different types of cards. There's wool, brick, ore, grain, lumber, and the development cards, which have a shield on the back. With everything but the development cards, just lay them out in individual piles. All the cards in each pile are identical, so there's no need to shuffle them. But you will want to shuffle the development cards. Shuffle them up nice and good, and lay them in a pile face down. If you're paying attention, you'll notice the cards match the land. There's the field tiles, which give you wheat, the clay pits, which give you brick, the mountains, which give you ore, the forests, which give you lumber, and the pastures, which give you wool. I would assume they also give you lamb chops, but those aren't used in this version of the game. Finally, there's the desert tile, which doesn't give you anything but a thieving neighbor. Now grab the building cost reference tile matching your color. Set the longest road and largest army tiles aside, and place the wooden robber meeple in the middle of the desert tile. And you're ready to go. Starting with the oldest player, you're going to place your starting 2 settlements and 2 roads onto the hexagonal game board. You'll start by placing 1 settlement and 1 road on the board, moving clockwise. Once that's done, you'll go in the opposite direction to place your 2nd settlement and 2nd road. Now, there are a few rules to keep in mind when placing your pieces. All settlements go on the intersection of 3 land tiles, or 1 or more land tiles in the ocean. All roads go on the spaces between these points. Only 1 road can be built on a path, and all roads must connect to one of your settlements or cities, either directly or via more of your own roads. As for settlements, they can only be built in a space if the adjacent spaces in any direction are empty, even of your own settlements or cities. Cities are just upgraded settlements, so you'll never have to worry about where to place them, because you'll already have a settlement there. All right, you've got the board all set up, you've placed your starting settlements and roads. It's time to collect your starting resources. Take your second settlement that you've placed, and take any resource that's given by the land tiles connected to that settlement. Then, it's time to play. You have 3 actions you will take on your turn. The first, you will roll the dice. Then, take that number, in this case 11, and that number will show up on 2 of the tiles. Was 1, and there's 2. Unless you're a gambling man, you go after the 2 or the 12, in which case there's only 1 of those. Anyone who has a settlement bordering one of these tiles, such as this white one here, gains the resource for that tile. For example, on your turn, you roll an 8. With this particular layout of the board, that roll activates both this mountain tile and this forest. You have a settlement next to the mountain tile, so you gain 1 ore. You do not have a settlement next to the forest tile, so you don't gain anything. But Dweezil Zappa has a settlement next to the forest, so Dweezil gains a wood. If you roll a 7, however, nobody gets any resources. Instead, any player who has 7 or more cards must discard half of their cards rounded down. Then, the player who rolled the 7 can move the little wooden robber meeple anywhere on the board, and then randomly steal a card from one player who has a settlement bordering that tile. Your next action is optional. You can trade with either other players or the game. You can trade resources with other players with a few limitations that are spelled out in the rule book. To trade with the bank, you can trade in any 4 of one resource for 1 of any other. If you control a harbor, you can get that equation down to 3 to 1 of any resource, or even 2 to 1 of a specific resource. The harbors are all marked on the water tiles, and you control them if you have a settlement or city on either end of the harbor. The final action you can take on your turn is to build a road, settlement, city, or development card. The cost in resources for all of these is printed on your building cost reference tile. Now note, if you run out of pieces, you can't build any more. There is a finite number of things that you can build. Building roads, settlements, and cities are pretty straightforward. They follow the same rules as they did in the beginning of the game. Settlements are worth 1 victory point. Cities are worth 2 victory points. Roads are worth, nothing. Unless, of course, you build a 5-road long chain and no one else has one. Once you build that 5th road, you may take the longest road card, and it's worth 2 victory points. If, however, later in the game, someone else builds a longer road, they can take that card from you, so don't rest on your laurels. Every settlement you build must connect to at least 1 of your roads. You can't just go off into the wilderness and set down roots. You need a road to get there. In order to build a city, you must first have a settlement on which you can upgrade to a city. Now, in addition to being worth 2 victory points, a city gives you twice as many resources as a settlement during the gain resources phase. Now, building development cards, that's a whole other beast. There are 3 types of development cards. Progress cards, which have a green banner, victory point cards, which are orange, and knights, which are purple. You may play a development card at any time during your turn. When you play a green progress card, you simply follow the directions on the card and then remove the card from the game. The orange victory point cards you don't play, but keep in your hand until the end of the game. When you play a knight card, you are building an army, which scares the heck out of the robber. So you get to move the robber to any tile and steal a card from someone who has a settlement or city next to that tile. Leave your knights face up, because the first player to play 3 knights gets the largest army tile, which is worth 2 victory points. Just like the longest road, however, that tile can be taken away from you if someone else builds a larger army. The game ends when a player amasses 10 victory points on their turn. If you find you have 10 victory points and it isn't your turn yet, You have to wait until it's your turn, and another player may end up with 10 victory points on their turn and steal that win out from under you. And that's the game! The Settlers of Catan is a fantastic multiplayer game that will take you about an hour to play. It's fun, and there's no wonder it's been popular for over 25 years. If you've never visited the world of Catan, plan your trip right away. We have it in stock at Third Universe, so give us a call or come on down to the store or our website at www.thirduniverse.com. Then, gather some competitors and lose yourself in the fields, mountains, and clay pits of Catan. Don't forget to eat the sheep.